I've dealt with some difficult neighbors before, but nothing, absolutely nothing compares to Karen. And I don't mean that in a joking, meme-worthy way. I mean an actual, self-proclaimed enforcer of the Homeowners Association, despite the fact that our neighborhood doesn't even have one. Let me set the scene. I live in a peaceful, HOA-free cul-de-sac where most of us have known each other for years. We cut our grass, keep our homes looking decent, and mind our own business. But then Karen moved in. She was the kind of person who walked around with a clipboard, making notes about whose trash cans were left out too long, who parked in the wrong spot, and who had decorations she deemed tacky. Now, I usually ignore people like that, but Karen had made me her personal target. Why? Because I own a work truck. It's not some rusted out heap. It's a clean, well-maintained vehicle I use for my contracting business. But to Karen, it was an eyesore that lowered property values. She left notes on my windshield. She even knocked on my door multiple times to suggest that I park it elsewhere. Each time, I politely told her that my driveway was my property, and as long as my truck wasn't violating any laws, I wasn't moving it. Apparently, that wasn't good enough for her. Her tactics escalated quickly. First, she tried calling the city on me, claiming my truck was a commercial vehicle that shouldn't be parked in a residential area. That didn't go anywhere since my truck was within all legal limits. Then she started harassing delivery drivers who came to my house, telling them they were disrupting the aesthetic of the neighborhood. One night, I even caught her measuring my lawn with a ruler. A ruler? Who does that? Karen also began enlisting other neighbors in her campaign against me. She went door to door, trying to drum up support for creating an HOA, one where she would, of course, be in charge. Some of the newer residents listened at first, but when they found out her rules included banning pickup trucks, requiring identical garden decorations, and enforcing a no outdoor furniture unless approved policy, they backed away. No one wanted to live in a dictatorship. But the real breaking point came one morning when I walked outside, coffee in hand, ready to leave for a job, and noticed something strange. My tires looked off. And then I saw them. Spike strips. Metal, tire-shredding spike strips lined up perfectly across my driveway, right where my truck's wheels would go. My stomach dropped. Who in their right mind would do something like this? I checked my security cameras, and there she was. Karen, sneaking onto my property in the dead of night, laying them down like she was setting a trap for a wild animal. I wasted no time calling the police. When the officers arrived, they were just as stunned as I was. One of them whistled and shook his head. "That's some next-level crazy," he muttered. Karen, of course, came marching out of her house the second she saw the flashing lights. "What seems to be the problem?" she asked, all innocence and fake concern. I pointed at the spike strips. "You put those on my driveway. I have you on camera." She scoffed. "That truck is a violation of community standards. I was just enforcing what should be the rules." The cops weren't having it. "Ma'am, this is private property. You can't just sabotage someone's vehicle." "Well, if he just parked somewhere else, this wouldn't be an issue," she snapped. That's when one officer pulled out his handcuffs. "Ma'am, you're under arrest for vandalism and reckless endangerment." Karen's jaw hit the floor. "You're arresting me?" They sure were. As she was led to the patrol car, the whole neighborhood came out to watch. Some of my neighbors actually clapped. But that wasn't the end of it. Karen fought the charges, claiming she was just trying to keep the neighborhood safe and that she was doing the job the city refused to do. Her lawyer even tried to argue that my truck was a public nuisance. The judge didn't buy it. She ended up getting fined, sentenced to community service, and, best of all, slapped with a restraining order preventing her from stepping foot near my property ever again. Even after her legal troubles, Karen still refused to admit she had done anything wrong. She became the talk of the town, infamous for her over-the-top attempts at neighborhood control. People started sharing their own stories of encounters with her, how she once called animal control on a neighbor's cat for trespassing, or how she complained about kids drawing with sidewalk chalk because it was graffiti. A few months later, her house went up for sale. Turns out, getting arrested in front of the entire neighborhood isn't great for resale value. Word around the block was that she moved to a neighborhood with a strict HOA, exactly where she belonged. As for me, I'm still here, still parking my truck in my driveway, and enjoying the peace and quiet of a Karen-free street. And every now and then, I think about sending her a postcard. Just to remind her what real freedom looks like. To this day, we still joke about the HOA war in the cul-de-sac. Every time someone complains about an overgrown lawn or a slightly mismatched fence, someone else will say, "Careful, or Karen's ghost will come back." And we all laugh, knowing we won the battle, and our neighborhood stayed exactly the way we liked it.